Welcome back to another episode of Just a Tip, a podcast where we talk about all the shit that people are thinking but not saying. Today's guest is Andrew Platt, a chef, operator, and consultant who's been in more kitchens than landlords have had leases. He's worked behind the line, built out restaurants from the ground up, and now he helps owners figure out why their dream concept is burning money before the first service even starts. In this episode, we talk about why bad consultants don't kill restaurants, bad decisions do, why Michelin stars don't mean shit if the math doesn't math, and why South Florida plays by its own rules. Andrew also breaks down what's coming next for Miami's restaurant scene, from the permitting mess to the World Cup boom, and what it's really going to take to survive the next wave. And of course, he leaves us with the one piece of advice for everyone trying to open in the city. Don't force the fart, because it's just going to be shit. Let's get into it. This episode of Just a Tip is brought to you by Rooftop Solutions. So the craziest thing happened. You might have even seen it in the news. A restaurant in Wynwood had to shut down for years after a leaky roof caved in. Imagine all that money, time, momentum gone just because the roof wasn't handled right. And that's why I always recommend Rooftop Solutions. They've been protecting homes and businesses all over Miami-Dade and Broward for over 20 years. They're local, based in Hialeah, and they take pride doing the job with honesty and craftsmanship so your roof stands the test of time. And here's the deal. If you got a leak, they will patch it for free while prepping your roof to be replaced. So unless you want to add a lazy river in your dining room, call Rooftop Solutions, tell them Felix sent you. If your restaurant's POS is slowing you down instead of speeding you up, you're running on the wrong system. Here's the reality. Most POS platforms were built for franchises and retail, not really for restaurants like yours. That's why I actually back Pecan POS. It's built specifically for food service, fine dining, chef-driven, and high-touch spots. And it doesn't make your life harder, it makes it easier. Fully customizable, hooks right into every major delivery app. And the kicker? The POS itself is free with their solution. No bullshit fees, no nickel and diming you with add-ons, just a system that actually runs the way your restaurant runs. Trust me, this one is different. Visit pecanpos.com or hit the link in the show notes to book a demo. So today I have the distinct pleasure of having a very special guest today. If you are opening a restaurant, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing with the city, if you're trying to figure out how to navigate, this is my personal guy. This is the guy that I always talk to, who has his finger on the pulse as much, if not more than me. So when we talk, we don't talk about sports. We don't have time for that shit. We talk about navigating the system. We talk about permitting. We talk about, what's going to happen, why restaurants close, and, how to make them better. So today I have the man behind the curtain, my man, Mr. Andrew Platt. Andrew, thanks for coming on, brother.
Felix, thank you. It's
Dude,
an honor.
I needed you on. I needed you on for several reasons. I needed you on because you see everything I see and more. I wanted your opinions on, with the mayoral election coming up, how is this going to affect, everything? Obviously you're opening places left and right. You're consulting, you have AHA Hospitality. You are just all over the place, and you're seeing it in every neighborhood and county. So, I think a lot of people really need your help based on everything you're going through and what also you're big time behind the scenes. You're, a big insight for restaurants. You're a big advocate for the city. So I really, it's one thing when people hear it from me and they're like, why are you fucking doom and glooming us, or why are you scaring us? But it's different from when somebody like you comes on who knows everything by the numbers. So, first, thanks again for coming on. So, I think you have a really interesting past also, because you went from, working for the machine to kind of, honing in on your craft, because weren't you a chef originally? Or?
Yeah. So I've spent the last 25 years in this business, right? Went to culinary school, did the whole thing. Got some really, really cool roles. I was the corporate chef for a restaurant group here down in South Florida. So it's actually interesting. I wrote a post on LinkedIn the other day. It was one of these things. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, let me write this. And I scheduled it to go up, and it was like, what it's like to go from working in fine dining, chasing Michelin stars, to going into consulting and quick service. And I remember when I said what I was going to do, people told me I was nuts. It was a fall from grace. And, or I'd come back in 6 months, that this would never work. And you know what I tell them now? I tell them hello from their dining room on a busy Saturday night.
Right.
That's what I say as a guest.
Right.
I'm not worried about the grease traps or the fryers going out on the thing or Joey the line cook not showing up. No. So I transitioned. I had this existential crisis when my son was like 6 months old and said, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And at that point I was like, man, I only see my son 30 minutes a day. And in hindsight, really didn't matter at that point.
Right.
Fast forward 4 years later, I see the value of that, right? I get to pick up my kids and do what I want throughout the day. And I went from, running restaurants to owning and to consulting. And I know I always tell people when I'm a consultant, I think of Anthony Bourdain when he used to say, consultants are just chefs who are out of work. I said, no, bad consultants are who are chefs and GMs who are out of work. But when you're a great consultant, people seek you out. And it's not the people that you see with the sponsored posts on Instagram and Meta and all of that. No, it's the person who eats quietly in the back that has the answers that gets sought out, because it's not about saying, hey, look, hire me, hire me, hire me, because it's about having quality information and getting information from people who've actually gone through it.
Right.
Like you said, my company, AHA Hospitality Group, like we started, it's a consulting business. And as well, we have Ernie's Açaí, which is a quick service Açaí concept that started 3 years ago, and we have 6 locations. So
shout out to my man Hernando.
Yeah, that's my business partner. It's so much fun what we've taken with this crazy idea, and we've turned it into something pretty big to go from 0 to 6 in 3 years. And who knows where we're going to be 3 years from now?
Right.
Hopefully be at 100. Who knows?
Which is insane, because, I remember first time Hernando like brought this up to me, and again, he came from like the cigar world, and he wasn't really, in the F&B space. So when first time I heard him, I was like, bro, are you sure you want to do something like this? And he's like, no, I know that this is going to be. And then when I met you, and then when I heard you were involved, I felt way more comfortable for him. I'm like, okay, like, Andrew is going to definitely soften the blow, if anything, And
it's been a hell of a ride, right? Like, I remember when we opened Coral Gables, we looked at each other and we're like, shit, man, we opened in October. We're going to give this to July. And if it doesn't, we're just going to pull the plug, walk away, lick our wounds. And here we are 3 years later with 6. Doesn't mean it hasn't been without its challenges. And, our things of dealing with crappy landlords, great landlords, amazing staff, bad staff. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing 9-course tasting menus or serving smoothies in acai bowls. The challenges are still the same in the restaurant business. Right. And what's crazy is you are subjected, whether you're a quick service coffee shop or you are a Hooters or a Palacio de los Jugos or even just a small bakery, you're under the same confines and rules and regulatory practices as every other restaurant.
Right.
And the permitting is the same. The licensing is effectively the same. The department that licenses you may change from the Department of Agriculture or DBPR, but it's still the same process. So what's really cool is I usually tell my consulting clients when I sit with you, do you want to listen to somebody who spent 25 years in a corporate world and they're going to give you their version of what real life is, or you're going to have somebody who has their name on 6 personal guarantees,
right,
having to worry about payroll every 2 weeks? Like, there's a little bit of solace that I've been there.
Well, not only have you been there, I mean, you have skin in the game. So it's very hard for, it's easy for somebody who has no affiliation, whether you make it or not, to give their opinion. Oh, you need to do this. It's something else when someone like you who has all these personal guarantees all over the place and is responsible for expanding and, the marketing and the building out. I mean, you really do wear every hat.
Yeah. And what the problem is when people are like, there's no way you do it all, until you sit down and see what I can do, then they're like, oh shit, he really can do it all. Right. Like it's and
like I've seen it, and that's where you're here today,
Yeah. And it's, and I can't tell you, I've gotten good at it because I fucked up so many times, right? Like, it's like somebody asked me, how did you get good at running restaurants? I got good at running restaurants when we were broke, right? Like, it's easy to be rich when you're rich, right? Like if you got 300 grand sitting in the bank, you don't have a worry in the world about your operation. But when you've got 10 grand in the bank and $30,000 a month rent, you're like, oh shit, how do we do? Who do we pay first?
Right.
It's like, then it's this proverbial juggle of finances, right? Because everybody, and you hear all of these industry leaders talk about running a restaurant, running a nightclub, right? At the end of the day, it is a business first and a passion project second. And if you invert those two things, you end up on the RIP list.
Right.
Right? You cannot let your chef have full creativity because you're going to have a 60% food cost. You're going to have a 40% labor cost. Those numbers don't math. That math doesn't math.
Right.
And you have to find a freaking balance of creativity, giving the guests what they want while making money, because it is our job as owners and operators to return our investment. If not, you're just a charity, right? Who cares about a James Beard? Who cares about a Michelin star if you're drawing a negative every day?
Right.
If not, you're just an idiot. You're no different than the deadbeat who's not paying their bills.
Right.
Right?
So
you just have a star on the wall or a plaque on the wall, but you're still broke.
Right. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Yeah, you see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's chasing these wild dreams and all of that, and I'm all for it. You can do it, great, but do it smart. There's a handful of these restaurants that do it very well. Like you've talked about it. Stubborn Seed does a great job with that. The guys at Boy a Day, Walrus Rodeo, they do an amazing job with that. But then there's these other companies that come into South Florida, flex their might because they come from Chicago, LA, New York. Guess what? The rules of engagement in Miami, South Florida in general are totally freaking different.
Right.
And even the submarkets within Miami, what works in Brickell doesn't work in Wynwood. And what works in Wynwood won't work in the Gables. What works in Gables won't work out here in Little River.
Right.
And there's anomalies to these things, but you have to be very, very tactical in your approach and your expansion, right? Everybody thinks opening restaurants is easy. Fuck, it's not, right?
Right.
Failure rates are through the roof.
Well, just, to touch on something you just said, big groups with money who came into the market, guys like Let Us Entertain You with ABBA and Bell Harbor, I think they didn't make it 2 to 3 years. And obviously, Gordon Ramsay with Lucky Cat didn't even make it a year. So what does that tell you?
What it tells you is a couple of things happened, right? There was a hyperinflation during COVID, right? And let's talk about 2021, 22,
so important.
And even 23. There was a 4-year stretch,
right,
that everybody it was like a shoe of blackjack, right? You can only win so many hands in a row before it turns, right?
I couldn't keep up with the phone calls that we were getting of just out of town concepts and, Canadian concepts and California and Paris and Moscow. Everybody wanted Miami. Everybody wanted a piece of Miami.
And thankfully, right, being in this business, right? Like this is going to sound so, like, I guess taboo, but COVID didn't exist in Miami.
Right.
Like, people were getting sick, but like what you saw, the shutdowns of New York, I remember we were opening Red Rooster, like the place was fucking packed.
Right.
Right. And it's like, you see politicians not wearing their masks. I don't have to wear them.
Right.
They'll remain unnamed. Right. But like,
well, I think our own mayor was caught at Swan, like partying it up, no mask, right?
It is what it is, right? But like what happened was they didn't realize the lengthy process it is to do it. It's not like some of these other places where you go in, you shake a couple hands, kiss a little babies, shake some babies, kiss some hands, whatever you got to do, right? Get it open. And you can start seeing like these development groups were like scouting. And now is when they're opening because it took 2 years to get through Durham, 2 years to get sewer allocation letters from WASA. Then it was another 2 years to build out. And there's your 4-year run.
Right.
And guess what? That shoe's done and over.
Well, and when they were all looking, in 2021, the rents were still 60% less than they are today.
And don't get me started on rent, right? I get it. Cost of living's up, but at the end of the day, right? People are going to bitch at you for a $25 cheeseburger.
Right.
But guess what? When your rent is $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 a month for a 1,000 square foot space, you have to charge that.
Right.
There's no other way to do it. So folks, I'm telling you, talk to your landlords, talk to these people. We got to do something because the rents aren't not going down. It's not, Correct. It's like home prices. Oh, I'm going to wait till the market crashes. Guess what? What comes up doesn't go down. It stabilizes, but it step climbs, right? It goes incrementally, and it creates a new baseline. So we either have to get used to the 22% ambiance fee, service charge, tra-la-la with the $14 burger, or understand that, guess what? That $14 burger is $22 no matter what after you get tax, tag, and title into it.
Right.
But we got to pay for it somehow.
Or go into a new neighborhood.
You go into a new neighborhood. And the other thing, too, is, folks, I'm looking at the camera. This is important. Right? And Felix loves it. It's his business. If the average restaurant only generates about $1 million, right?
Right.
You have the outliers, the Sunnies, the Carbones, the Joe Stone
The
crabs.
top one, I call them top 1%ers.
And that's not even the top 1%. That's the 1% of the 1%, right? Because that are doing $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a night.
Right.
Let's be real. The average restaurant does about 20 grand a week.
Right. And I'm sure when people are going to be watching this, they're going to be like, well, what about Catch and, all these guys? They're crushing it. And
yes, they are crushing it. But what's funny? They're owned by management companies, and it's a bunch of pool of investors who are parking money in the business.
Right.
And they're giving a preferred rate of interest on a waterfall back to their money. So the management company doesn't really own it. They get paid a percentage to do it. So if it does well or not, they get their top 5, 8, 10% of revenue back to them. So if it fails, whatever, it's a bunch of people who parked money anyways. So we could talk about that under a whole nother thing here.
We'll get to that.
If not, I'm going to have to go into witness protection here in a few months.
I got your back. Don't worry. But let me ask you a question. Overall, what do you see, we're getting out of summer, we're going into season, which is taking a little longer than we thought it would. But, what is your feel? What's the temperature of the market for operators right now, based on clients and everything you're seeing right now?
So what I'm seeing is right now there's an old saying, and this isn't gender specific. It separates the boys from the men.
Right.
Right. Good operators will always operate.
That's correct.
The bad operators, those cracks are showing, the water's coming on the barges, and there's nothing they can do. And the problem is people double down. They leverage themselves, or they spent way too much on a freaking build out.
Right.
Right. You walk to these spaces and it's like you hear the sexy fish where the number changes every time. How much it doubles. I think it's at 120 million now.
Last I heard it was like 60 million. I was like, this is what, the time they opened?
Is that the reinvest? I don't know.
Right.
But you hear these absurd numbers, and I get it. I was always told by a family friend, son, you don't get rich playing a dollar scratch off.
Right.
I agree with that. Right. You got to, if you want to make money, you put money. But operators need to understand that the average restaurant, according to Danny Meyer, 10% return.
Exactly.
So if your restaurant is doing $2 million a year in revenue, you got 200 grand going to the bottom line on EBITDA, right? And you put in $2 million, you have a 5-year lease. Guess what? You don't see a return on investment.
Right.
Let's just start with that. So, but to see what we're seeing right now, Miami is going to go through another boom. A couple of things that are happening, right? Next year, 2026 is a huge
World Cup, baby.
World Cup,
World
right?
Cup.
So we're going to have 3 huge events.
Yep.
Back to back to back.
Well, so we got F1, we got World Cup, and then you got
Miami Music Week, which
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Miami Music Week.
Yep.
So you basically, instead of having, and then you have the Miami Open, which brings a lot of people too. So you got 4 large events.
Yep.
2 of which are happening at the same location, right? At the Hard Rock.
Yep.
But now you've got the World Cup. That's going to bring in, what was it, like I heard something about $1.2 billion worth of spend into Miami-Dade County.
But there are people that are nervous, obviously, about ice and,
yes, there is, and there's going to be points of contention with that. But you know what? The people who may or may not come, the people who can afford to come to the World Cup games, I'm sure there's ways around that, right? There's going to be visa fees, whatever. That's a whole different thing. But what the point that I was going to make was 2026 is going to extend season past Easter,
right?
Because really, the hot time in Miami, they say, is basically Thanksgiving to Easter, and then it just fizzles out.
Right.
2021, 22, 23, they stayed year round. But frankly, finally, last year was the real litmus test. You look at neighborhoods like Sunset Harbor, June, July, August, they were dead.
Right. Same as south of Fifth. I don't care what anybody says.
Dead.
Like, it was oversaturated, over cannibalized. We've had, closures for the first time ever in south of Fifth.
Yeah. But you know what? Because Miami is amazing. I love South Florida. I lived a bunch of other places, but Miami's home, right?
Love it. Yeah.
It's amazing. The weather's amazing 9 months out of the year. But those 3 months that we're talking about, I want to be somewhere else. So do other. You start looking at Instagram feeds and all that. The stories
Everybody's gone. Yeah.
Montauk, Ibiza,
I'm
Mallorca.
in Maine. Yeah,
you're in Maine, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in places where the mosquitoes aren't eating you alive. Your elbows aren't sweating.
Right.
Eating it like Casadona on the water. Like, that's not pleasurable.
Right.
Like, I want to be somewhere where it's nice and cool. Like, shit, I spent most of the summer in Michigan.
Right.
Doing work up there because the weather was amazing.
Yeah.
But just to get to your point, like, what do we see? I see it's going to be the great operators are always going to operate.
Right.
They're going to find their way. They're going to dive deep. They're going to cut where they need to cut without sacrificing the guest experience.
Right.
And it's going to be a big, big year. There's going to be a lot of eyes on South Florida in 26, and be ready for it, right? And if your packages aren't in Durham right now and you don't have your green tag from Durham, don't think you're going to be getting it to be
Which
open
a lot of
for
people
June.
think that they're going to,
yeah.
we'll catch our Basel this year.
Yeah,
you know?
we're going to catch Basil. It's like, I had somebody call me the other day. Can you help me? Where are you? Well, we're getting our C of O, maybe the last week of November. We want to be open for Basil first week of December. And I was like, not this year. No.
Right.
If you don't have your C of O or TCO right now,
Right.
it's the second week of November. If you don't have it now, it's going to take 2 weeks to get your space ready. You're not going to be ready for thing. And people freaking all the time here in South Florida and anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's South
Right.
Florida. They force openings. They force a round hole in a square peg. And guess what? It shows. People in Miami want perfection, right? The operators that we've talked about, right? The Sunnies of the world.
Right.
Carbones.
Right.
You go in there. Yeah, you might wait a little time for your food, but you know what? That service is on point.
Always. I don't want to. I don't.
detail.
Yeah. I don't want to hear from anybody else. Yeah.
Every
100%.
detail
Right.
has been thought out, right? They've
an experience.
anticipated the guest need before that, but they've been preparing for
Right.
a long time.
Right.
And the ones that rush it, guess what, man? You got one thing. We went to dinner last night. We went to the Capitol Grill.
The one, which one, Brickell?
Brickell,
Right.
OG, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
I don't like the new Capitol Grill.
No.
I want to feel like I am, in a old, like, cigar smoking in a country
Absolutely.
club with taxidermy moose on the wall.
Right.
Like, that's, to me, is like old American
Right.
steakhouse. Not like some of these that I've been into now, and it's just like,
the
no.
Vibe Dining Steakhouse.
Yeah, no. Like, and the table next to us, I was overhearing it because this is what I do. I listen. And, guests had a bad experience. Food took too long, right? And a place like that gets it wrong.
Right.
And you have to make sure, if you're going to be opening for Basil, you needed to be prepared 3 weeks ago. Not today, not tomorrow. If you're 2 weeks out, it's too late.
So let me tell you guys something I see all the time. You take over a second-gen space, you think it's turnkey, but the second you walk in, it's not exactly what you need. Maybe the bar layout doesn't flow, maybe the kitchen's a little outdated, or the bathrooms look like they haven't been touched since the 90s. That's why I tell all my clients, you need to call Brodson Construction. Whether you're building from the ground up or not, you still need the finishing touches done right. Brodson's been local and family-run since 1989. They're the top 1% in Florida, and they've handled everything from luxury homes on Star Island to some of Miami's best retail and restaurant spaces like LPM, Cipriani, Hillstone, Bell Harbor, just to name a few. Bottom line, don't settle for nickel and dime contractors who might underbid the work to win the job up front and screw you over in the end. Brodson maintains integrity every step of the process to build enduring relationships and never exploit clients. So remember, if you're going to build, call Brodson Construction. But here's I guess the question, and this is one of the concerns that I always have, because restaurants have expressed this concern to me, when F1 started, is that, when people come down for F1, they always support the big guys, the Carbones of the world and, all the hot places that they want to take Instagram pictures. But we feel that right now, a lot of those people who are coming down for those events aren't really about supporting local or the mom and pops. So the mom and pops are like, yeah, F1 didn't really do much for me. It was great that it performed well for Miami. But, I think a lot of the mom and pops are still a little concerned that, whether you're Mimo or some of those other areas or even West, that, yeah, you know what, F1 doesn't faze me. We need to figure something else out.
Well, if you're predicating your business on one singular event, you're toast. Right. If you're waiting for a group from Germany to come in, that's called using hope as a strategy.
Right.
Hope is not a strategy.
Right.
That means you have no strategy. And that means you are not capturing your 1.5 mile radius.
Right.
There's studies that say that 85% of your regulars travel within a 1.5 mile radius of your restaurant. That means you're not marketing to the people are there, and you're trying to hope of being one of 30,000 that you catch one crumb. And of course, where do you want to go? If you're coming into a new city, I have a hotel client, right? On Biscayne Boulevard, and they're like, how come our restaurant doesn't perform? I'm like, you're across the street from Bayside. No offense to your property.
Right.
If I'm coming to Miami and I have 24 hours in Miami, I'm not going to eat at a hotel restaurant.
That's right.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to go to South Beach. I'm going to go here. If I've got 24 hours in New York for a layover from JFK, I'm not going to eat at the hotel restaurant. I'm going to try to get into Peter Luger's. I'm going to try to get into those bigger names. And that's what happens with these bigger name things. And no offense to the smaller operators, they have teams that market the fuck out of them. Right?
Yep.
And you think your one Instagram post as a smaller operator is going to draw in the big thing. People are going to go with the brand that they know. It's like ghost kitchens, right? We can talk about that too, right?
Well, that's a whole
I'm
other
going to open
animal.
a ghost kitchen brand, right?
Right.
You're competing against Five Guys, BurgerFi, you know, Shake Shack. You're going to go with what you know.
Right, but at the same time, like me personally, like I wouldn't, the reason why I'm not very big on, you know, the Gordon Ramsay restaurants or, you know, is because I don't want to eat something that I can get somewhere else. Like I don't want to come to Miami and have something I can have in New York or have something I can have in Vegas. So I you know, when I go to any city, I'm like, I want to see what that city's about. What if it's New York? I want to go to Peter Luger's. If I'm in, you know, LA, I want to go to their Mastro's. I don't really want to go to the Mastro's that's like a half-ass imitation of what made the one in LA great, you know?
Well, and what pisses me off too, right? And sorry, world. What pisses me off about these groups coming into here, I don't want to see another fucking Cuban sandwich on the menu. Right? Like, don't come Gordon Ramsay me a Cuban sandwich, right? Like, you know, shout out to Danny at Sandwich, does a great job. Guy makes his own ham, makes everything. That is like gold standard, right? Like somebody who has mastered their craft. But I want
a Cuban sandwich. I'm going to Enriqueta's. I'm going to Sandwich.
I'm going to one of these places. Like, I don't want to go sit and spend $28. Like, there's that place on Lincoln Road, the Colombian place. $32, right? $32 for a fucking cheeseburger, or like $26 for a hot dog. If I want a hot dog, I'm going to go in front of the courthouse by that little old, you know, that guy right there. Right. Because that's what it's about, is a true, authentic experience, is what you're alluding to, right? But everybody comes with these pipes and dreams, that their version of this dish and all of that. It's like, no, man, I can eat that at home. I can go to Palacio de los Jugos and go get a vaca frita for $9.95.
Right. And it will be one of the best you've had.
It'll be the most amazing in shitty styrofoam containers that I'm probably going to get cancer from. But that's what I want. You know what I mean? With 20 pounds of rice. And you're like, how the fuck? Who eats this? But that's what it's about. But like, back to the other point, right? Like, just like supporting smaller operators, right? It's trying to capture those people. It's about marketing to your regulars. It's,
in your opinion, as a regular, if you want to succeed in a restaurant business in Miami, how many times does a regular need to eat at your place? We've had a lot of discussions here about that. In your opinion,
to me, depends, right? So in the Ernie's world, a regular to us is 2 to 3 times a week, right? But that's smoothies, acai bowls, and all that. To me, a regular is twice a month, right? When you're looking at PPAs of $60, $70 a person, PPAs per person average, for those not knowing, that's nothing to shake a stick at. You got to be making some coin to justify spending $60, $70, $80 a head, right? For me, that regular is twice a month. Right.
But because it's Miami and, everybody wants to Instagram from the newest place, do you think that we're in trouble because of that mindset now, that people are so about going to the new place and taking pictures at the new place that they're not going to be spending time as a regular in the places that they love?
I do and I don't.
Okay.
Right? Because it depends on the guest.
Right.
Because the one that isn't loyal, let me give this. This is really, really fucked up analogy. Once a cheater, always a cheater. If you're not loyal, you're not loyal. Right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're married, you're not married. If you're going to go fuck around, you're going to fuck around. Right?
That's
if you're loyal to a brand, and like there's restaurants that we go to all the time. Pablo, Zitsum, shout out Zitsum. Pablo, what's up? Right? My wife and I are super loyal to that. Can we get an iteration of Asian food anywhere? No, because we walk in there. It's the way that Diana, the GM, makes us feel. Whether it's at Dojo or Zitsum, right? That's why we go.
I think Dojo did they just reopen, or
they're open? They just opened.
Right.
It's his new izakaya concept. I love Pablo. About 20 years ago, I wanted to make extra money. I taught culinary school. He was one of my students. So like, I have a lot of love for him. Right. Like, we have anywhere we go, because why? It's about how they make us feel. I don't give a fuck about Instagram or taking pictures in front of the bathroom or a sign that says, please don't do coke in the bathroom. Like as funny as it is. Right. But you know what? It's those places that are based on aesthetics, have no foundational merit, that end up closing in 2 to 3 years.
We've seen a lot of that recently.
We've seen, and you're going to continue to see it. And the reason is you know what? They sign bad leases.
Yep.
They don't understand what escalation clauses are.
Right.
Right? Like if your rent goes up 5% and you don't touch your menu prices have to go up. It's a myriad of issues, right? If you opened a restaurant and you did your pro forma and your prospectus, it took 2.5 years to get open based on minimum wages being at $10 an hour. Well, fuck, come next October, they're 15.
Right.
That is a 25% increase to your bottom line labor without even factoring in your 3 to 5 to 7% escalation on rent.
Yep. That's if you don't hit the market price for your option.
Oh man, the fair market value. You know how many leases we look at or are assuming leases, and it's like or fair, 3% or fair market value at the landlord's discretion. That's scary.
And even though we've done a really good job teaching people don't fucking build, second gen, even today, I think people still have a misconception of what second gen and move-in ready is.
Listen, second gen, move-in ready, right? In Miami-Dade County.
Right.
I will tell you, I will say this. Broward County, holy crap, so much easier. Palm Beach County, not as easy as Broward County. We opened a space in the city of Coral Springs. I called and they said, how can we help you?
You're not going to get that from Durham.
You're not going to get that from Durham. They're going to be like, why are you calling? Get in line, right? Like, how can we help you? Please, whatever you need, we're here. We will walk you through the process. Now, the county has made huge strides,
Yep.
right? They started this new AI function. I don't know if you've seen it.
Well, I think we both, we're going to get into this whole thing about the grease traps in Durham, and things are looking a little positive. And I know that
It's an election year.
It's an election year. But if what we hear is actually going to happen, it will be a good time to maybe start building restaurants again.
It will, right? But the other thing that's going to be factoring in, right? We can talk about, let's talk about second gen, move-in ready, two different things, right? Second gen is like a house,
Right.
Right? It has the four walls, it has the roof, it has the infrastructure, but is the infrastructure up to code?
Right.
Right? So a lot of people don't know this. Just because you take a space, you have to do due diligence. Do due diligence. And if you don't call me, I will walk you through it, right? Due diligence isn't, does the AC work? You need to really know your shit when you're taking over a space, right? If it's an electric system, does it have a hood? Can the building even support a hood? Some people ask me, how much does a hood cost? Well, it depends, right? Are you in Brickell? A lot of people don't realize in Brickell, you need to have basically what's called a PCU or a PCD, a pollution control device. Right. That's an attachment onto your hood that basically takes out 99% of grease-laden vapors out of the air. Like if you go in downtown, in high downtown, you don't smell food.
Right.
Right? Because they don't want those noxious odors because of these mixed-use buildings. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know that if your chase has to go, your hood chase has to go through residential, it needs to be fire wrapped. That comes at a cost. So just because a building was a business was allowed to operate like that before, doesn't mean now when you go through the CU process that it's going to be allowed to operate like that again. Right? And it's a little asinine what the county wants, right? The county basically says, you buy a business. We've all purchased a home. If you have never purchased a home, there's home rental projects, right? And maybe you go in and you got the whole damn thing and you start from scratch. But most people do piece by piece. They do the kitchen, they do a bathroom, they do their master closet, they redo the garage, and they do it in piecemeals. The county basically wants you to go in, start from scratch, and then say, I'm ready. The problem is, if you bought a second gen space with key money, you've put up $100,000 in key money, and maybe it's functionally obsolescent key money. And why is due diligence important? Well, the restaurant was built in 2017, right? The equipment's in good working order from 2017. A lot of people don't realize that commercial equipment has a lifespan of 5 to 7 years. If you built in 2017, it's now 2025. That's 8 years.
Right.
You're past its functional life. So now you may have spent $250,000 in key money on equipment that is old, right? And maybe it wasn't used lightly, but if you buy a 2005 Mustang with 3,000 miles on it, it doesn't negate the fact that it is a 20-year-old car. It just happens to be a 20-year-old car with only 3,000 miles.
That's correct.
But it still is 20 years old.
And I think the 3,000 miles from 2017 is almost the equivalent of, hey, guys, guess what? In 2019, we got Fog 2.0, where now you have to install interceptors into every grease trap, and you need updated grease traps. So,
and you know what the difference is, right? So you have one of the most common interceptors is the sheer GB250, right?
Which, let me ask you something. I mean, where was the payoff on that? The fact that that's the only 99% approved grease trap?
Wait. So there's the GB250 and the GB250B.
Right.
It is one extra baffle.
Yep.
Right? Literally. And you can't modify it, so you have to replace it. Now, the county has done a good job. You can get into what's called a consent decree that they give you a certain amount of time to get it updated. I'm helping out some people right now navigate through that. But at the end of the day, they want to change. A lot of people don't understand why Durham is the way it is. Do you know why? Has anybody really brought you up to speed? So back in the 70s, the EPA said, hey, listen, we need wastewater. We need to be tough on wastewater because we sit over the Biscayne Aquifer. That is our main source of drinking water. And what happens is all that stuff starts to contaminate the drinking water. Well, we're SOL, right? And so why are they so tough in Miami-Dade County? If you go up to County Line Road, that's basically where the Biscayne Aquifer ends.
Right.
So if you're on Miramar versus Miami Lakes, you're literally just throwing a rock separating the turnpike right there. But the problem is there's no drinking water underneath it. So what happens is in 2019, the EPA said, no, you guys really need to start enforcing this. We're having issues. Miami's a 100-year-old city. You got 100-year-old pipes. You got 100-year-old problems. And they're really, really harping on the fact that, listen, wastewater needs to be dealt with because if it starts leaking into our drinking water, which I appreciate it.
We got kids.
We got kids,
absolutely.
and kids are going to have kids, and we want the city along for a long time.
Right.
And then the other things too, rising seawaters, a bunch of issues.
Right. But do you think that, even with all of that, it's like they wanted all these new rules, but they never figured out a system?
Well, they never figured out a system, but now that they've bifurcated, and it was Oliver Gilbert who said that basically that they had permitting and environmental together, right? And then the environmental people were becoming activists and making the permitting people activists rather than a cut and dry system. It's in compliance, it's not in compliance. And I think the goal now is, how do we create a system that works? How is it that an Açaí bowl shop, right?
Right.
Fresh cold pressed juices needs the same grease trap technology as a chicken wing shop?
Right.
I can tell you the issue. The issue is in Miami, we don't follow rules. Today, we're an Açaí bowl shop and juice shop. Tomorrow, we're serving pan con lechon.
Correct.
The next day, we're doing a fish fry. The next day. And what happens is you have to prepare for the worst. But what I think the biggest challenge is getting into a system and understanding what that means and what's in the ground. And a lot of people don't know that there is documentation. You can get all the documentation of what's actually there. And before you sign that lease on that second gen, you need to call somebody like myself, someone who knows where to look to get the file of what it is. And if you do have a second generation space and you're filling out an existing hydromechanical device paperwork, the paperwork needs to match the previous application.
Right. And if it doesn't.
And if the previous space that you took over was licensed for 20 seats, the new application has to say 20 seats.
But, but actually, they're actually taking some of it back based on your bathrooms now, because then they passed the bathroom code that if you don't have 2 bathrooms, now you can't have more than 15 seats?
Exactly. So but there's ways around it. But then if you add another bathroom, then you're going to the permitting process. Then if you're going into the permitting process, now that grease trap that was on the borderline has to be replaced.
Look, as a business owner, I'll be real with you. Running my brokerage takes all my time. And in Miami, if you're not showing up online or on social media, you just don't exist. That's why I've worked with Sage Marketing Studios from the very beginning. Website, social, even this podcast. They're the ones behind the camera. Building strategy, keeping it consistent, and making sure my brand looks like it actually belongs in the city. So just a tip. Stop having your cousin post blurry iPhone pics once every 3 months. Hit up Sage Marketing Studios. You can find them on Instagram at socialmedia.sage and tell them Felix sent you. A lot of you know me from my F&B Miami page, but what you might not know is that I also run Florida's largest restaurant real estate brokerage called F&B Hospitality. Every week I meet somebody that thought that they could just wing it on a restaurant lease. And every week on F&B Miami, you guys see how that turns out. And that is exactly why I started F&B Hospitality Brokerage. We treat our clients' money like it's our money. We don't say things just just to say it or paint pretty little pictures. We go based on facts and numbers. If we don't like a deal, location, or permit status, we are absolutely not afraid to tell you. It's about setting you up to last. So you could focus on food and foodies while we negotiate the build out and the terms.
So in your opinion, and based on just what you see today, you know, we know obviously things that are coming. If you are a restaurant and you are building from scratch, how long will you be open in? Approximately. If you take a second gen, you buy for key money, how long will you be open approximately? And then a move-in ready, how long will you be open approximately?
Well, the first one is
you know the ones where you drive by, you see a sign, you call the broker.
No. You see the signs, or you call the broker, built to suit.
Oh yeah, dude, you kidding me? You're gonna do great here.
You'll do great here in 24 months, right? It's gonna be a 2-year process,
right.
And everybody's like, no, it's not. I remember I was on a call with.
Is that with a grease trap that the landlord?
No, that's without a grease trap.
Without a grease trap.
Without a grease trap. It's going to be a 18 to 24 month process, right? Because you're going to be at 3 to 6 months in permitting alone, right?
Alone,
right? 3 to 6 months. And if you sign that lease, chances are the landlord gave you a 6-month build out period.
Right. Which they know there's no fucking way you are going to be open or even be close. And even if you have the best under a year,
under a year, it's not going to happen, right? And it depends on the complexity. If you don't have a hood system, you can do it. If you're opening up a coffee shop, I'm taking this space here, turning it into a coffee shop. We can make it happen. We can make it work. It can be done in a year. But if you're putting in a full restaurant, you're putting in a bar, you're putting in all this stuff, you need to plan 2 years. Right now.
But that's also what pisses me off about landlords that know this, that already are tying their hands behind their back.
Well, the thing is a lot of landlords are cash poor.
Right.
So they have pro formas that they've given to their lenders saying this is how much they're is going to generate. And a big problem that a lot of first-time operators do, well, then they will abate or amortize that rent on the back end or that year. And that $6,000 a month rent now has gone to $9,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 on a coffee shop. Right. And you really can't justify, as an operator, having a rent that high. You know how many pastelitos you got to sell?
Yeah.
You know how many cafecitos you have to sell? Unless you've got you're coming in. If you built out a $6 million a year restaurant, doesn't really matter.
No.
It doesn't fucking matter.
No.
You're going to be printing money anyways.
Right.
But if that $6 million restaurant, and you've built your metrics on $6 million, only does $2 million, it's like going from making $180,000 to $60,000 living the same life.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So for that, about 2 years on that. Second gen, depending, right?
Sure.
Depending, you can do it in 3 months to 6 months.
Yes.
If
you buy the corp, for a lot of people.
If you buy the corp, listen, you're going to spend about 45 days in a CU process, depending on the municipality. So you have to get your county CU, your municipal CU, right? They're basically that. The first thing, the county CUs, when you start going, depending on it, you're basically going through WASA and DERM. And fire, depending on where you're at, if that municipality has fire through the county or not. It's a pretty straightforward process. If you have all the paperwork done, it's a 2-week process. Now, if you didn't check the little box on Section 8 of the DERM application, that's going to start over. Because a lot of people don't realize that the county doesn't have a work-through system. It's a stop and start over. So what happens is you submit plans on a new build, right? And mechanical says, nope, we don't like this. Even if DERM, WASA, and everybody has signed off, you get added back to their queue, which prolongs this experience. So if you get a second gen space and the grease trap isn't up to date, you're looking at 6 months minimum, right? Because to modify or update a grease trap and the isometrics are the same and you're changing like for like, and you're not changing what's called the grease flow calculation, you can do it 6 months, super fast.
I mean, but let's say you had sushi and now you're a burger place.
Oh, listen, that's a whole change of use, right? Like
a lot of people don't understand that, especially with second gens.
You talk about my business partner, Hernando. He saw me. I was like, I think I wish this guy bone cancer, right? I was like, I wish you get bone cancer. Like, you have never opened anything in Miami-Dade County. We went from a poke bowl to an acai bowl shop, and they're like, you need a full engineering calculation.
That is insane.
That's $5,000.
That is
right. And to basically tell me that we had less grease production,
right?
And I was like, it's less. And they're like, we need the thing. And I'm like, it's $5,000. It's $5,000 that is going nowhere.
Which could be used to so much to benefit the restaurant.
That's tables, that's chairs. Hell, that's the general manager's salary. That's something.
Right.
That's a month's rent in some cases, right? Or half a month's rent, or a week's rent, depending on where you are in Miami, right? But what happens is it becomes convoluted because one of the biggest challenges we have here in Miami is the people passing the rules listen to people who have never been in the fucking business.
Right.
They listen to a legislative aide who read this paperwork, instead of coming to people like you and I and saying, what are the pitfalls? Which now they are coming.
Right. But it took long enough.
It took long enough, right? And those people are calling people like you, calling me, right? What do we do to make this easier?
Right.
Hospitality and tourism is the lifeblood Miami-Dade County.
Always
Correct
will be.
me if I'm wrong.
Always
Cruise
will be.
capital of the world, hotel. People come to Miami to fucking visit.
Right.
Miami International Airport, with its flaws, there's more passengers coming through there. There's more cargo coming into Miami-Dade County than any other thing.
Right.
We may not be as big as Atlanta Hartsfield or be these hubs, but you know what? You're not getting anywhere in South America, Latin America, or the Caribbean without stopping in Miami-Dade County. And we need to have these restaurants, and we need to figure this out. Now, to tie up your other loose end of a ready, right? You have Felix's Cafe. You built it in 2021. Andrew's coming in to take it. Depending on the municipality, I could give you an example. We opened Ernie's in Pinecrest. It was an Açaí bowl shop.
Yep.
Took it. Didn't do very well. We took it. It's our top performing store. I had a full certificate of use from the village of Pinecrest, the county, Durham, in 13 days.
Wow.
Right? Because I had all my paperwork in an order. I knew who to call. I knew not who to call, but what to say, how to say it, how to present it. The problem is people get held up because they think I'm just going to submit the paperwork. And it's like, no, it needs to be submitted in a certain order.
Right.
And if you're doing this, right, and you have a corporate veil, your name needs to be listed as a manager.
Yep.
Not this company held by this company, held by this company, held by this company. You're giving them a rhinoceros when they only want a marshmallow. Give them the marshmallow.
Right. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it, right? Make sure your name is listed because a lot of people think, oh, yeah, XYZ Corp. Oh, I have this veil. No, that fucking ruins you.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, Durham, there's like 5 reviewers. There's like 12,000 grease traps in Miami-Dade County, something like that.
Yep.
5 people are reviewing these new applications. They only have as much thing as they can do. We're going to see now that they moved it in October to its own standalone department. We hope it.
We hope.
We hope, right?
So,
but hope is not a strategy. We talked about that.
We have. But, that brings me to my next subject. Obviously, we have the mayoral elections. I really don't think people understand how important this mayoral, and I've never been one to say who to vote for. It's just like, guys, vote, because, between the permitting and what a clusterfuck, the system was, and the restaurant raids, this is a real important mayoral election.
Well, at the end of the day, right, when it comes to these things, I play Switzerland, right?
Right.
I'm very neutral. But we can say you have basically 2 candidates running. You have somebody, Eileen Cohen-Higgins, right?
Yep.
Coming from the BCC, does great work at the county level, stepping down to go run the city of Miami. You've got Emilio, former city manager. So you have 2 people with great experiences, right? Someone who's done it at the county level, somebody doing it at the city level, running the city on a day-to-day basis. I'm interested to see what happens. I know that there's been talks, and I've received those calls. And how can we make permitting easier?
Right.
How can we make it? The way to make it easier is make it less complicated.
That's exactly.
Right? In states like Texas, they allow you to work through. If you're held up, right, in electrical, they allow you to work to that point to get it, not completely stalemate you. But the problem is that we have here, and this isn't a shot at anyone. This is said in a mere fashion. You have people coming in from other countries that say, this is how we do it in our country. They try to do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, they bring in their own architects.
Yeah, they bring in their own architects. They don't understand that there's the Florida Building Code, the Dade County Code, right? And it's just like, oh, this is how we do it over there. if I've gotten $1 for this is how we do it back home.
Yep.
Well, homie, this isn't New York. This isn't Buenos Aires.
Well, also between you and me, because as soon as I hear that, I'm like, what are the percentage of these guys actually opening? Not very good.
No, and it's not. And what sucks is, well, twofold, right? It sucks for the landlord, right? Because every time you have to market a space,
pay commissions,
right. Pay all this shit, they lose money too. Right? I am very opportunistic. If I could find a space that somebody else took a bath on, great.
Yeah, 100%.
I can do 5 of those stories in our own personal hand. Right? And then the other thing too is when you are negotiating a lease, right? You talk about exit strategies, you talk about great favorable terms. I'm going to tell you a story right now that we are going through at this very moment.
Hit me.
Right? Back in August, I received an email. Right? Hey, Andrew, here's this bill from a landlord, our landlord in Sunset Harbor. I was like, what do you mean, a bill? For what? The landlord erroneously paid the power bill for the previous tenant. We are seeking reimbursement. And I was like, oh, whoa. And they used the term reimbursement. Right? The lease states that in the lease acquisition, right? In the assumption, the previous tenant indemnified us for any liens, bills, and all of that. However, it said that any reimbursements are due to the landlord. And the landlord said, this is a reimbursement. And I said, okay, I'm going to call the previous tenant. Silence. Okay, great. And I said, all right, like anybody would do, you're presenting me a bill. Provide the justification. I will deal with this like I need to. 9 weeks later, I get another email. It's actually $8,967, not the $2,800 like we told you. And it's due immediately. If not, you're in material breach of lease. Really. And it sucks because you need to make sure that this is clearly articulated. I've spoken to 12 attorneys now on this, and they're like, this is fucked. Yeah. This is fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is like, how can you go to somebody and say, all right, here's this $9,000 bill, which I talked to the property asset manager. They're like, you should have done it in due diligence. If the bill wasn't in the previous tenant's name, FPL is not going to give me the information.
Correct.
The water department is not going to give me the information.
That's right.
Nobody is going to give me that information. I can do whatever title search, lien search I want in the world.
Right.
But you need to make sure that if you're signing these leases on second gens, that you're not liable for it. Right now, I have a $9,000 bill that we have to pay, or we're in default.
Right. But, even though we both know that it's not your responsibility, I guess you just have to start running numbers. What is it going to cost you to fight this lawsuit?
No, the problem is I send one attorney on it. There's the $9,000, right? Or do you say, you know what? The store's underperforming. Flip them back the keys. Right? The way that it's actually advantageous for us because the previous tenant holds the liability for the first 18 months of our thing. But do we want to be those people?
But today it's the water bill. Tomorrow it's something else.
Yeah. And I've talked to 5 other people in that, and they've had a similar experience. Right? And, that landlord's the worst.
Well,
landlord is the worst. That they overpaid for their thing. And I don't want to put them on blast.
Right. Again, listen, they also, when they buy a piece like that, they're obviously, looking at, we didn't buy it for people to break even. We bought it to make money. I think the problem was they also overestimated what it was worth and what they could get for rents.
Yeah. Like, it's our highest rent in our company. Right. It's like, all right, we got bullish.
Right.
Even when I talked to you said, oof,
I know the space.
I know the space, right? Yeah. Like I had my reservations, but when your partners, like,
listen, it wasn't a bad space. I know that Chip City had spent a fair amount of money and time to get it open. So the fact that you guys went in there and took advantage of the infrastructure, that's in an area like Sunset Harbor. I think that's great.
Well, listen, what's funny is I talked to somebody in the city of Miami Beach and trying to get that certificate of use. I turned that certificate of use around in 33 days.
Wow.
Right? Derm, everything. Right?
That's amazing.
So fast.
Right.
And I was bitching, right? Like at somebody in the city, and this is a city official. They're going to remain unnamed.
Right. For now.
Said, why didn't you hire a permit expediter?
Unbelievable.
And I said, I want you to say that as loud as you can so everybody in the room can hear this.
Right.
I should spend more money when I have all of my paperwork in a row, beautiful package, ready to go, to invest more money into your city to open business, to give you more tax revenue. I have to pay somebody to move me to the front of the line. That is asinine. That is a huge problem in this city.
I mean, the whole permit expediter thing.
Yeah.
So do you feel that this is like just one of those things that creates that Miami fuckery?
It does, right? And it's like, or private providers.
Right.
Right? Like, if you're a small-time operator, you can't afford a private provider.
No.
That's how you see these things getting moved quickly, right? They have their things. And it's just like, I see the thing now that I've gone to Parkland and Boca and done these things, like I'm hiring somebody now because I don't have the time in my day to go sit in the city to submit paperwork and all of that. But the fact that I have to pay somebody to move me to the front of the line,
Right.
like I get it. I go to Disney, I get the fast pass.
Sure.
I don't want to spend 2 hours in line. I understand the principle. But the thing is to hear a city official tell me, you didn't hire a permit expediter, that's on you.
Right.
Well, that's some sort of fuckery. Next level of you need to be able to get in, get out, and move this along. If everything is right, it's a simple look over of paperwork.
But for mom and pops, could something like that be the end of their business?
Fuck yeah, man. Like we were just talking about it. If it took you 6 months, right?
Yep.
You got 6 months for free rent.
Right.
It took you 6 months. And now, January 1st, your rent is due, and your rent is $10,000 a month. That $10,000 is maybe the last $10,000 you have in that capital reserve that you did, and you don't have partners to do a capital call.
That's right.
Or you've already maxed out your bank loan. Right? Like people, when my consulting clients, I ask them, how are you funding this? When I hear bank loan, I say no.
Right. Or SBA or
SBA, I say no. Like if you have a construction loan, that's fine.
Sure.
I understand, right? You're doing draws. But if you're coming at me with your Visa debit card and asking if I take, or your credit card asking me if I take thing, and I see it's not metal or it's not, like you're using it for the points. Like I put things on credit cards. Like I don't believe in debt for companies. I think debt's good for certain things.
Sure.
But like when you come in already leveraged and you're like, I need help, and it's the 9th hour and it's in 2 weeks, you want to be open for Basel? No, it's going to cost you, and it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Right.
Because the amount of political favors, or not political capital, not political favors, but the capital that has to be put in people capital to get that across the finish line, it's not worth it.
Right.
Especially if you're going to be like, yeah, your fee's X, and you're going to try to, dwindle me down. No.
So what are some other things that you think, restaurateurs need to look out for right now? Obviously, we had, the issue with the 2% tax.
Yeah, so that 2% tax, right? That was a whole scenario. I did a lot of background lobbying to support a lot of people. A lot of people came to me for advice on that. And you
were definitely the man behind the curtain on that one.
Yes. And what really helped here was this sensical approach. What happened was that homeless trust came back and said, where's this money? Like, this is due to us. And they went to the county and they're like, oh shit, yeah. So they started imposing, and a lot of these things were people who bought restaurants, second gen, and they didn't know that they owed this, right?
Of course
a lot of people didn't know that if you had certain parameters. But
even if like you're doing your due diligence, okay, like you make sure that there's no SBA, you make sure there's no PPP, whatever it was. Like that was one of the things that it was very great because it wouldn't always pop up everywhere.
It's not, because the only thing when you do these things, right? For an SBA loan, PPP loan, you check the UCC liens.
Right.
A lot of people don't know when you have what are called the UCCs, right? They're Uniform Commercial Codes. I didn't really know about them until about 2 years ago when my attorneys were like, "Hey, look," and now I'm like, "Boom! I have a client. I'm buying this thing. Nope, you can't do this. We need to get that." And we had a space. It took 6 months to close because the landlord wouldn't go until the UCC was released.
Right. So guys, make sure you follow up on your UCC if there's any money owed on the business whenever you do a key money deal.
Exactly. Because guess what happens is that lien takes first primary, basically acts as a chattel mortgage.
Yep.
And everything in that space belongs to the bank.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that.
Right. Or if like you owe money to Cisco or you owe money to food purveyors, guess what? You open up, guess who you're not getting food from are those guys.
Exactly. Because there's ways around that. But
I mean,
yeah. If you buy the corporation, you ain't getting shit, right? But like, it's important to really know what they have, because if they foreclose on that UCC foreclosure and the rationale oven in that bakery is there, the bank can come in and take it. And
Right.
whether you paid for it or not, it's
Right.
kind of like buying a car without the title.
Right.
A tow truck can still repo your ass.
Yeah, but like SBA, like
Yeah.
they say technically they own it, but there is no inventory list.
No,
of,
there's
like,
no
things that are done.
inventory with all those things. But you know what? With my luck, I'm the first person who can go in and get
Right.
it. Like, there was a deal that we did, right? And it was as my partner's dad said, you guys went turkey hunting and the turkey fell in your hand,
Right.
right? It was our Miami Lakes location, and it took forever. And I felt terrible. We came up with a deal with the guy, and he's like, I'm just going to fold it. And the landlord made him pay off the SBA loan, made him pay it off before they could transfer the keys. This person was up there, right?
Right.
This was his retirement project.
Right.
I had to shell out $400,000 just to hand us the space.
I mean,
And I felt horrible. Like,
well, listen, you know what? If there was no key money, was there key money? Like, if there was no key money and like the lease is like super under market.
Oh, it was super under market. It
for
was
a long
like,
period of time.
no. It was
Right, so then
an
it's like,
advantageous deal, right? Like,
right.
but he had to pay it, right?
Right.
Like, he had to come out of pocket, and it came out of, and like, and obviously our
great for you
attorneys,
guys,
yeah, it
but-
was fantastic. Our
right.
attorneys were like, nope, you're not doing it until that's paid off,
Right.
until we have notification. And the other thing too, very important, UCC liens don't clear up immediately, so
That's
you
right.
have to constantly
Check
check
up
and
on
check
them.
and check, and they can give you a payment confirmation and
Right.
just ask me how I know, right?
Right.
And if you don't know how to do it, you can always call me and we can come up with something and guide you, right? Like, it's all about knowing where to look. And why my consulting business has done as well as it has is I've gone through it, right? Most people aren't going to tell you to start looking for these things. They're
Right.
just going to be like, do due diligence. And then you're going to send the HVAC guy. Yeah, the light AC's fine. Yeah, the hood's fine. No, there's so much more that goes into this and then you have to check if, you go to change the LLC or change that, maybe there was a zoning change,
Right.
right? Or like licensing, like just because you think you can do it doesn't mean you can do it.
Right.
So a lot of people don't even understand the whole licensing portion of this.
It is, and
is
it does.
mind-boggling.
But so this leads me to another, situation question. So over the last like 2 years, by now you could kind of get a good sense of who's going to make it, who's not, based on the type of deal they do, based on the type of business they have, based on what they think that they're going to do in terms of sales and neighborhoods and markets, where sometimes I will tell them, like, save your money, don't do this. And they're like, what do you mean? Why would you say that? It's your job to kind of like sell me a space and call it a guilty conscience, because I still got to sleep at night. And, but if I see somebody is going down the wrong path and I'm like, there's nothing I can do or say that's going to save you, have you been in those positions? And like, what do you do?
Oh my gosh, I get in them all the time. I say no to more people and taking them on as clients
Yep.
than I do yes, because I have to believe in the brand.
Right.
I have to believe in it. Just like you, just like I have a buddy of mine that sells cars.
Right.
And he's like, once I see those taillights, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're done. I don't believe in that, right? Because my successes are your successes
Correct.
and your successes are my successes. Because, Felix, as the restaurant broker, recapturing a space and marketing it again
Right.
is great for you. You made double commission.
Right.
But if 6 months later, the same one is coming back to market, that's not good for you.
Right.
Right. Because you're not bringing class act, first class tenants
That's
to
correct.
the space. You're just becoming the shitty used car salesman that
Right.
is going to have these motor problems, these
And then,
transmission
and also
problems.
then you become the cursed location.
Exactly.
Well, if 2-3 people didn't make it, then why? Then
Why-
it's
well, there's we could
Million,
talk about.
right.
There's a myriad of reasons
Right.
why people don't make it.
sure.
But I can tell you, right? Like, you have to come in and know your clientele.
That's right.
And I can tell you, right? Like, you have to, if you have a very unique brand, right, and a very unique concept, you need to know why you're unique and why that new, especially this happens when you start getting into multi-location,
Right.
right? Why entering that market. If you are an omakase brand and there's 3 omakase places around you,
Yep.
you're fighting. You are one of many. You are no longer one of a kind. So you need to know your clientele. You need to know the demographics. Like a neighborhood like Sunset Harbor,
Sure.
right? It's a fantastic neighborhood 6 months out of the year.
Yep.
You're dying the other 6 months, right?
I feel like that's all Miami Beach.
Yeah, that's all Miami
Right.
Beach, right? But like, there's highly residential parts of Miami Beach, right?
100%.
The meat of the sandwich, right?
Right.
You have the outside. West Ave is fantastic, right? You got Collins. You're always going to be fine. You're going to have high rents, but you have those Lenox, Euclid, all of that. Those are people who actually live there.
Yep.
Right. You have some people that I was working with that have a bodega, right?
Right.
People, they make very good livings, but you need to know who that clientele that you're serving is. And if you're trying to tackle the Sunset Islands, the Venetian Islands, just know that in the summer, they're going to Europe.
Right.
In the winter, they're going to Aspen, Vail. They're going somewhere else. So you have to capture them while they're here. And if that's who you're banking on, you need to look bigger into your brand and who you're serving. Because at the end of the day, it's great to have the celebrities and all of that, but you need to have the people that are in Miami year round.
Well, speaking of that, since I already have you here, let me run a couple of neighborhoods and just give me the first thing that, comes into your mind about opening in these particular neighborhoods. Honest opinion, like what you think of it, ups, downs, and, or just forget it completely.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's start with you. You named it first, so let's go with it. Sunset Harbor.
Sunset Harbor, if you're a lifestyle brand, stay away.
Right.
Right? If you have anything, you're not going to compete with Pura Vida. You're not.
Right.
We have a space 2 doors down. We serve similar things. People are just going to go there.
Right.
Right? If you have, you're looking at solid 5-figure rents. Like that is what it is.
We've both seen it. Yep.
Yep. It is what it is. And if it's not, it's going to be.
Right.
Right. Like I know that I was with a group that has a place there, and they're, you can't, I remember the rent was 17. Now it's going to, like at one time back 4 or 5 years ago.
I know that group.
It's going to be 30, 35,
35, yeah.
40. And it's 35, but then triple net, then cam overages and all of that. And then come January, you get a bill for 12 grand.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit.
If there's a new landlord, taxes are up.
Taxes are up. Everything is up. And the taxes are, a lot of people don't realize this. So new builds.
Right.
Very important to know. You're doing a new build, brand new building. Your triple net lease for the first year is going to be amazing. But when that tax bill hits for the new actualization of the built land, get ready. Your $6 or $7 cam may go to 22, 23, may go to 30, may even go to $40 a foot, where your cam and your base rent may equal. You go to places like Lincoln Road.
Well, hold on. That's the next one. That's the next
Lincoln
one.
Road.
We're going to go to our neighbor in the north, because you're saying $40 cams. I've seen $100 cam.
Right.
What's your opinion on, and again, there's a lot of action on it recently. A lot of big groups, took over big portfolios, bought it at a discount. What's your opinion on Lincoln Road for a restaurant?
I think there's some amazing restaurants on Lincoln Road. Oro, Philippe is doing a fantastic
I think
job.
Elixir is about to open,
Elixir's
right?
about to open.
Right.
I worked on Oro, on the parts with Oro with Philippe, on like furnishing the tabletops and
Right.
silverware. That was a hard project.
Right.
Because if you look at their smallware package, it is like nothing else in Miami, and we worked really hard to get it there.
Right.
That's opening. He's doing a fantastic job there.
Yep.
Mila's doing a fantastic job there, right? You've got Prince Street Pizza coming. You've got a lot of these new brands.
Antico from Italy, right?
Antico's coming in. You got a lot of these brands that are coming in the hopes of drawing all of that. But, those are big gambles, right? Like those are some big ass rents. And not only the base rent, because they're giving the base rent is dirt cheap.
Right.
The triple net is what's going to kill you. So you're still at a big number.
But do you think here's I guess the question for Lincoln Road: do the locals come back?
I don't know. I think that what we talked about it off camera, right? Like once you crumble a sheet of paper, right? Even if you try to iron it on, the creases are still there.
Right.
Right? Like it's an interesting concept, right? Like once a brand has a stigma, it's hard, right? Like once you become a little rough around the edges, that's what you attract.
Especially, this was one of the coolest places on the planet.
It was, but you know what? The coolest places on the planet, but it never evolved, and they filled it with huge brands paying whatever they wanted.
Right.
When you have a Gap, a Structure, and all of these things coming in the late 90s, early 2000s, forcing out what made Lincoln Road what it was. Right? This bohemian, art-centric thing to be basically hoard out to corporate America, corporate brands paying whatever. Then they left, and now it's every other thing is vacant.
Okay, so that's Lincoln Road. How about let's go Washington? Let's say from Espanola to south of 5th.
You know, that's still littered with that. Like, you got a great brand that came in, Bonchon, right? I worry about their longevity, right?
Yep.
But I think that's they're attracting some really cool new brands, but they're brands of people talking. They have real estate, teams, right? That thing, but they don't talk to the locals about where they need to be. It's like, it makes sense on paper. There's sometimes there are deals that look great on paper, but when you really focus in, coming out from the macro to the micro view, you're like, meh.
Yeah, but I got to tell you,
But south of 5th is a whole nother animal. That's its own ecosystem. That's its own life.
But for like Washington, Espanola Way, I got to tell you, we were on Espanola Way about 2 weeks ago.
Bring Cameo back.
Bring Cameo
back. Bring Mansion back. Bring back the heyday.
I don't think we can anymore. They're the times, they're going back to 2 a.m. But I got to tell you, I was at the Joyce on Espanola Way, and I had a great fucking meal, and it was all locals in there.
No, yeah, but Espanola is its own sub-market.
Which is crazy.
It's its own ecosystem. Like, Miami is ecosystems in this giant terrarium, right? And it's just like, it blossoms. Like, the V&E group has done a great job with Espanola Way. They have done, Matias and his team, they have done a fantastic job.
You got 1957.
You had Tapas and Tinto.
Mexico.
Mexico. You have some brands that have had some great longevity. That they aren't necessarily tourist traps. They are touristy, but you could still get a nice Cuban sandwich. You can get a nice burrito, some great tacos. But like, it gets a little bit dicey as you get a little further south. But
there's a lot of places for sale.
There's a lot of places for sale. There's a lot of places I remember talking to 3 years ago about helping them get over the curb. It was people that did freaking the frozen hot chocolate out of New York. I forgot their name. I just thinking about it. They were doing a 3-store concept, and then it phased out. I can't even remember their name.
Well, you have the Baked Bear now. Like, you have, Raising Cane's.
Cane's, but listen, that guy's worth, what, $9 billion? Like, they have cash to deploy, and if it doesn't work, they fold it up, they keep moving. Right? But that is a big corporate giant, that's not so corporate, but corporate.
Sure.
Like, the big chains are always going to last because it's a game of numbers, and if as long as it bobs and doesn't lose too much money, it's a position to say we're in South Beach.
Right. What's your opinion on south of 5th?
South of 5th is very expensive, but you have some great heavy hitters. You have some great OGs. Like, you got Pura Vida, right? Really, they sunk their teeth in there. You got Stubborn Seed. You have the GOAT, Joe's number one in the country. Number one in the country. They're not going anywhere. They're an institution.
But they also own their own real estate.
They own their own real estate. You got Robert Rivani. You got his projects, right? You've got, the Catch building, which I still remember when it was, what was it, Bocce? What was the place that it was? Chibo, there you go. I love Chibo, right? Like,
Chibo was great.
Chibo was great.
It was ahead of its time.
And then it was so ahead of its time. Fuck, you had Jamie DeRosa when he had Tongue in Cheek.
That's right, Tongue in Cheek on Washington and 5th.
I used to love that place. Shout out to Jamie. Good guy. He's doing real estate now. But, like, you had some great things that were ahead of their time. China Grill. Like, China Grill meets south of 5th. Now,
how long does Hassan make it?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say, but then even you've got the Poppy Steaks of the world. You got Fogo. You've got all of that on First.
Right.
And
which is a great block. It's a great block.
Fantastic block. Very expensive block. You've got some triple digits cost per square foot. And, what happens is it pushes the smaller operators out, right? You have to have a lot of expendable cash to sustain that or to even develop that. Like, you've got Milos. Milos isn't going anywhere. And then you've got Miles.
I love it. Listen, it's one of my favorites.
But it's still a $400 lunch.
Right.
And that's not a sustainable thing, right? Like, that's for the
that's what concerns me.
Right. And then even you go to the ocean on the other side, you've got, you got Prime, you got Milošević.
Yep.
Like, it is what it is.
Classics. The classics. Yeah. Okay. Wynwood. Come on, give it to me. I mean, listen, I got a love-hate relationship with the Wynwood.
Wynwood is overpriced for what it is.
Right.
And with the amount of development that's going there, the city has given more preference to the developers and shutting streets down.
Yeah.
Right? Like, like you've got the Uchis. Uchi's fantastic.
Fantastic.
You got Barcelona Wine
Yep.
Bar, right?
That whole block is great.
Fantastic.
Right.
Rosemary's. You
Yep.
got amazing operators there.
Yep.
But you never know if they're going to shut your street down. And then what the fuck are you going to do?
Right.
Right? And it's coming. And I don't know if Wynwood... And Wynwood is so fragmented. If you're next to Jaguar Coffee, you're solid.
Right.
If you're on the other end where Velvet Taco was,
Right.
you're dead in the water.
Right.
Right. And it's about knowing where to go because Wynwood, again, has its own ecosystems.
Which is crazy.
Which is
a block north, south, east, west. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Right.
Like if you're too far east, you're too far south, you're too far north. Like hell, like I don't even think Ducati, the motorcycle place, made it. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's not there anymore.
it's not there.
No.
And if you think of like
But I think they tore down the building.
Yeah, they tore down the
right.
building. But all these development sites with the Live Local Act, like you have to be so cautious going into some of these older places that the problem is people there. I actually had this conversation. Ophelia,
Yep.
big truck. I was
Yep.
actually on the phone with Juan on the way here, guiding him through, giving
Good
him some
product.
advice.
Good
Great product,
Good
right?
product.
They were looking at a space.
Yep.
And he's like, well, I have a lease. If the building is for sale, right, and
Yeah.
you're a small operator and a new developer comes in, they'll fucking bury you in
Demo
litigation.
clause, baby. Demo clause.
Exactly.
Got to look for that demo clause.
Yeah, but even with it, it's up to them to.
Right.
It is up to the new landlord
Right.
to acknowledge it. And if you're a small operator and it is a huge institutional developer coming in, they put you in litigation. You're gonna get buried in attorney's fees,
Right.
And you're fucked.
Right.
So it's like
You're not going to beat the machine.
you're not gonna beat the machine,
Right.
But we have some great things. Then, so Wynwood really depends. I think that there's some like if you're on that North Miami Ave, Northwest Second Ave
Yep.
corridor,
Yep.
Near Wynwood Marketplace, near Coyo, near Jaguar, you're great.
Well, I heard there's about to be a very, very, very large announcement, which I can't say on this one, but it is going to change the whole game. Maybe by the time this episode comes out, it'll be announced. But if I'm a betting man, I think there's going to be a very big transaction with Moishe Mana's whole portfolio there.
Well, there's always talks about
Right.
that, right? Like
No, but
this is
I was at the Real Deal. We were running around, doing the ambassador thing for the Real Deal, and people were talking. People were talking, and
let's be real. The talks of that have been happening for a very long time, right? And I think I know.
I heard a buyer.
Oh, yeah?
I heard a number, and I heard it was 2 million square feet, and I heard what they want to do, and I gotta say, I was very impressed.
But
where
even
usually
what they
I'm
want to
shitting on
do,
them.
it's 7 to 10 years out.
100%.
Right? Like
100%.
it's like Sunset Place, right?
100%.
Like I had somebody hit me up, right? One of my clients, and they sent me this, and I was like, Sunset Place, you're 7 to 10 years out.
But at what point do you go back into that market and sign a lease?
Well, the thing is if you
Because now
sign it,
things are going to be discounted.
yeah,
so.
they're going to be discounted. But if your streets are blocked off,
Right.
what good is a discounted
correct.
rent if people
That's
can't
correct.
get to you? It's like I will say, like in Miami Lakes, you have Main Street,
Yes.
right? Right, it's fantastic, right? Fantastic area. That's where I live, right?
Yep.
Great things. But if anything goes on under redevelopment, they can give you a discounted rate for X amount of years. But if nobody can get to you, it's like Giralda.
Right.
8 years ago when they were redoing Giralda in Coconut Grove in the
Right.
Gables, and nobody could get to you. Like, what point is it? You're still struggling. It just happens to be at a discounted rate.
So now if you have, let's say, a great local concept and you are an operator, what are your current favorite neighborhoods? I know what I know what I love.
If I could be anywhere,
Right.
and if it was that, you know what market I've really grown to love that that is the Pinecrest South Miami market.
Great.
Great area.
Great market.
Depends.
Locals.
Right? Locals, right? That
Not relying on tourists.
not relying on tourists. I wouldn't sleep on Doral. West Doral, not East Doral.
But the thing is, downtown is making me nervous because of the prices on rent. I'm seeing $93 a foot. I'm seeing $100 a foot.
But the thing is that they're going to continue. All they're going to attract are national operators willing to spend that kind of money. And again, there's nothing wrong with national operators.
Absolutely.
There is a ass for every seat, as my brother-in-law says. There's an ass for every seat. There's a reason why Olive Garden is Olive Garden.
That's correct.
Right? But there is also a need for the smaller operators, right? The one that the GM is the owner and it knows you by name and remembers your dog's name. There's fucking value to that. There's huge value to know that you walk in and Felix always orders, the veal saltimbocca and this glass of wine, and his wife really loves the prosciutto con melone and the branzino. There's something about that, and we need that. We need that in hospitality. We need the 20-seat restaurants.
Right.
And I think there's a huge shift in the operators too. We learned it in COVID. That 2,500 and under square footage, that's the hardest thing to find.
That's right. The demand still outweighs the inventory.
And you know what? People call me, I again, in Doral, somebody called me, hey, we got this 5,000 square foot space. I'm like, you need to demise this space.
Right.
Break it up into 1,500 square footers.
Yes.
Break it up. Nobody's really wanting to take the gamble on that because it's 5,000 square feet, 3,500 square feet, whatever. That's a lot of asses.
We're seeing that in Doral and
seats.
Miami Lakes, a lot of those big spaces, which are fantastic and beautiful.
But it was great 20 years ago when you had a $7,000 a month rent on a 6,000 square foot space.
That's right. You could kiss that goodbye.
You can kiss that goodbye. And I don't think we're ever going to see anything cheaper than that. And when do you gamble on these things? You don't know.
Do you think that's why, I think a lot of people complain to me, why are there no more big sports bars? Why do you think that's what it is?
Well, the problem with sports bars, right? Oh, shit. Let me sit up for this one. Good posture time.
Right.
The problem with sports bars is, right? You got rowdy crowds with alcohol.
Right.
And there's something about passion of sports. Hockey. Why do people watch hockey? The fights.
Absolutely.
Right? You get a few beers in you. You get a few shots in you. Right? One sports bar that does it great. Shout out to my neighbor, Jimmy Flanagan.
Oh, the goat.
Right?
The goat.
I go to him. We start talking shop. It's that, like the goat.
We talk Flanagans a lot on this
like
show,
that. That is a brand. He lives 3 doors down. We talk all the time. Like
that is the epitome of 305.
It is. And you know what's funny is that's a guy who has kept his food prices right because he's a liquor company before anything.
That's right.
And he still wants to make it a place where everybody can afford to eat.
It always tastes the same.
And it always tastes the same.
Right.
Actually, he employed a system, which is very interesting. It's an overnight prep company that comes in and preps everything.
Yep.
And then by the time the cooks go in, it's there. And he's like, I saved $1 million.
Right. And he knows, that's the thing. I think a lot of these guys don't know their margins and they don't know where to cut corners.
No. And the problem is actually, this is hilarious. I have a hotel client.
Okay.
Food costs came out of whack. GM Hotel said, just raise the prices. And I'm like, no, that is a Band-Aid on the problem.
Right.
You ran the same food cost for 9 months, and 1 month you ran out. There's an anomaly. You have to track anomalies, right? I am a numbers guy. I like anybody who's ever worked with me, they will tell you systems, operations, numbers, they don't lie. 1 + 1 is always 2, and when it's not, it's you.
Right.
Right? And if you have a jump, there's a delta. And yes, eggs go up, tomatoes go up, raspberries go up, but you don't sell enough of those things to make your food costs go out of whack to go all that. So sports bars. Why aren't there enough sports bars? Sorry about that. My ADD kicked in. Sports bars you have people taking up seats for 4 hours.
Can't turn it over.
You can't turn it over. And in a game where when I'm watching a game, I want to eat nachos. I want to eat ribs. I want to eat wings. I want to drink beer. Right? How many wings can you actually eat?
Right.
Before you get sick?
I'm a fat fuck. I can eat
No, but you know what I mean? Like you eat wings, but you're going to be full.
Right.
So after you've eaten your 20 wings and your few beers, you're now parked at a table for 4 hours.
That's losing money.
That's losing money.
Right.
Right? It's kind of like a cigar bar, right?
Yep.
They don't make money.
Right.
Unless you have booze. But you're parked there for hours. That's why. And you need the turn. You need the turn. Fuck, if boat campers can't make it.
Right. That was a big one.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Huge spaces, huge thing. Like their Miramar location, fantastic. They can't even offload it.
They can't. It's too big.
It's too big.
Yeah, we looked at it a few times. And it's on the water. You can do great events.
It would be amazing. But what happens is you can't turn them. And come World Cup, how long is a soccer match? Yeah, it's a 90-minute game, but commercials and this shit,
Right.
You're there 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
There was a project we were working on that was going to be at a soccer stadium that I got, and it fell through, and I was actually kind of sad about it, but whatever. At Freedom Park, and it's just like, all right, yeah. How do you make a restaurant in a soccer stadium work?
Right.
Especially outside of game day. How do you draw people in? Or, right, how do you draw them in during a game if
Right.
they get there before. Are they tailgating outside? Are they tailgating with you? Are they pre-tailgating? And then afterwards, and if they've been drinking, the liability gets too high at these sports bars because people get rowdy. They get ungodly passionate about their team,
Right.
about a wide receiver that doesn't know they exist, and they are willing to punch somebody in the face
Right.
over it.
Well, based on that project, which we looked at, I know that Jared Robbins is all over it. Shout out to my man, Jared Robbins. Michael, you guys are doing a great job. I know that they're trying to bring in like Netflix theaters, and
Yeah.
I think you need more than just the stadium to pack the place.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to do
Well,
way
if
more.
there's 12 games a year, right? Like,
Right.
or like 20 games a year, like,
I mean, it's great that the airport's right there, but you're definitely going to need more.
I don't even want to be with the traffic of that.
Right.
I would love to know who did the study, because
Right.
trying to get to the airport right now is a mission.
Right.
Now let's put in a 20,000 person stadium
Yep.
with effectively 15 to 16,000 cars,
Right.
all coming and leaving at the same time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that.
It's kind of
works
like
out.
with Marlin Stadium when it first opened.
Yep.
That was gridlock, and then they figured it out, because shout out to our Marlins. I
Someday.
remember people
Someday.
putting porta potties in front of their house, and
Right.
you need to go to the bathroom and park. Here you go, right? But it's going to be interesting. But with the sports bars, I think that's what it is, right? Like I
Right.
think the margins, the table turn is too long, right? The average table and average two top is an hour to an hour and a half.
Yep.
Four tops is about 2 hours, right? But imagine taking that and you're just sitting and watching.
Yeah, you'd be on the other side. You'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah.
So, if anybody could take anything away who's opening a restaurant, what is the one piece of advice that you have for anybody that wants to open a restaurant in Miami?
You know what's so freaking funny? We were just talking about this, and Fernando and I, we were smoking cigars the other day. We were catching up, and he shows me this video. And I call it, when you have to force a fart, it's shit. When you have to look at the spreadsheet 20 times over and redo the numbers just to justify it, walk from the deal. My father-in-law tells me, son, there's always a deal. Always a deal. When you go to the car dealer, today this car,
Right.
next week it's another one, the next week it's that. No matter what. When you have to force the deal and it doesn't flow easily, it's not for you.
Right.
Don't force it. It's shit.
Right.
It is not a fart. It is shit. So what you need to do is, if the landlord is not accepting your financials, is asking for more, that is the universe telling you, you do not need to be here.
Right.
Because if they wanted you there, guess where you would have? Keys in a month.
Right. Andrew Platt, it was a pleasure, but before you go, we need your top 3. Today, I think the subject might be, what are your top 3 favorite breakfast places in Miami?
Ooh, breakfast. All right. For sure, for pastries is Ophelia.
Okay, and why?
Why? Just, it's awesome. Their story is amazing. Those banana cookies are insane. It's about this, that makes up that
Love
portion right there. Love that. For a sit-down breakfast, I'm going to be, my favorite breakfast, honestly, that I eat is an Ernie's Açaí bowl, right?
Okay.
Like, I'm going to be self-serving here.
Which location is obviously your favorite?
The one next to my house in Miami Lakes,
right.
right? That it's easy, it's fast, but I think our product is amazing. We've reformulated it over the years. It's the cleanest bowl you can get in town.
It's also in and you're out.
In and
it's
out.
Great.
Yeah, we
Right.
have an average transaction time of 3 minutes and 32 seconds. We're faster than Starbucks.
Love it.
Right? And then
Was you any specific? How do you like your Ernie's?
I get what's something called a kiwi sunshine. It's kiwis, blueberries, strawberries, granola. I sub out the granola for our gluten-free granola. I take the coconut oil, sub it for our chocolate coconut oil for a guilty delight. When it hits the granola on the bottom, it almost makes like this oat granola with chocolate and coconut. It's kind of like those Nature Valley like chewy bars.
Jesus, that's making me hungry right now.
It's great. And then my last favorite breakfast, I would have to say, is Cracker Barrel, man. You can't fucking go wrong. Before the rebrand. Before they dropped 100 million out of their company or whatever they lost. But I would say those are the 3, right? Like, I can just easy going to. I will say, for breakfast, I went to Carla Bakery this morning.
Yep.
My kids had a pediatrician appointment and I was starving.
Yep.
So shout out to them. But, I would say Ophelia, Ernie's, and Cracker Barrel, man. It's awesome. And don't discount the Waffle House. maybe dirty, but you see the whole process.
Hey, listen, I don't. That's the one place I don't hate on. If anything, we're all about supporting the Waffle House.
Listen,
man.
you know what's funny is when I lived in Tennessee, I used to go to Waffle House all the time. It was the only thing that was open after closing the restaurants. And I ate, and the lady's like, "Baby, this is the last time you're gonna eat here. We're knocking this down, and it's getting remade."
Yep.
And I said, "I've always wanted to cook at a Waffle House, and they let me cook." And I'm like, "Call it, baby." She's like, "Drop 2 eggs over light, crispy, scattered, covered, smothered," and I did the whole thing because I would watch their system. And I still, to this day, have the mug with the circular ring pattern from the people stirring at my house as my one day that I cooked at a Waffle House.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Andrew, thanks again for everything that you do for the community. I know that a lot of people don't know, but I know what a support system you are in the background for a lot of restaurateurs, a lot of operators, and just mom and pops in general, man. So really want to thank you. I think you are a true visionary. I think you get it. And any restaurant would be lucky enough for you to consult for them, man.
Yeah, and whatever anybody needs, I always answer the phone call if it's an easy question. Like, I don't always say, "Fuck you, pay me." Like, no, there's simple things. When people are stuck, it's good to be a lifeline, right? Like, who do you call? Like, people are like, "Man, you must make a killing by referring all this business." I don't charge a dime.
I know that.
I don't.
Which
ask
I'm like,
for
dude, maybe you should start.
I don't. If I tell you a plumber, it's because they actually show up. If I tell you it's this vendor, it's because they actually do their work and they pay.
Right.
Like, now, do I reap the benefits? Yeah, the AC guy may come to my house and say it's no charge. Right.
Well, also, if you're saving your client money and the work is being done faster for you to work, so
exactly. Like, I always tell people, like the vendors, like the equipment, I'll break you off. I negotiated my price with my client.
Right.
Give them the best price.
Right.
You say you're going to give me 5% of the deal? Take 5% off of the price. Build it. Let's go. Let's move it faster, and let's velocitize money together and give great service to people. You're going to be there at 12, show up at 11:55, knocking on the door at 12. Don't make me wait till 2 o'clock and you say, "Oh yeah, I got called to another job."
Amazing. Andrew, thank you, brother. It was a pleasure, man. You're the
my
man.
pleasure.
You got to come on again.
Let's do it. Let's talk about how about this? I ask the questions next time.
Fair enough. I like it. We're due for a solo,
tip
right?
for tip, right?
All right. Well, fair enough. Let's do it. All right, my brother. It was a pleasure.
I got to pretend to work today, folks. Let's do it.
This is Just a Tip signing out. Peace.